Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining me here. Wanted to share with you all a little bit about Imbolc. Imbolc is the halfway point between winter solstice and spring equinox and heralds the very early new beginnings of spring, the energetic shift in the seasons before we can see it in the appearance of the earth. Imbolc is a quiet threshold that we tiptoe over. It's not one that we leap over like later in the year, in the solar year. And it's the shift from the dark half of the year to the light half of the year. So it's quiet, it's subtle, and it helps us to attune our extrasensory perception to notice these very nuanced shifts that are happening within and also surrounding us. You may begin to notice that the light is actually lengthening, that all of a sudden there's an awareness that the sunset is happening later, and that we are having an extension of illumination throughout our days. The days are still cold, the nights are still long and dark. It's an opportunity to still be with the winter medicine, but we begin to stoke the flames of the candle of hope within us. And so Imbolc is about the seeds that begin to stir under the soil. It's about the deep shoots that begin to extend down into the earth. And it's the energy of possibility that gets courted as these seeds begin to move within us. So these dream seeds that we caught and our dreaming time at winter solstice that are beginning to move in resonance with our intentions, and it's the activity of not yet. And so there's a balance, there's a decolonized precariousness where we get to hold something in steadfast cocooning versus leaping into action like we're conditioned to go into like immediate production and making happen. There's a tending of a rhythm and a process that's slower than modern time. So it's an inner knowing, it's an expectancy, it's a beginning. It's the time before the beginning. So if the beginning is at spring equinox, when we begin to see visibility, it's the time before the beginning. So it takes wisdom and discernment and patience and trust to hold this steady space, to court with gentleness the truth that all things will pass, will come to form. So we are in our listening right now, and we're in our like holding of the spark of life in the nesting materials before it's given to the tinder, before it sparks into a flame. So it's a holding of the coal in a nest in which to let it continue to grow in increments, in increments. So that's what Imbolc is about. And there's a something I'm reflecting on of the culture of the United States where I live, that we're in an Imbolc season, that we're courting a possibility of what can be while bearing witness and attending to what is continuing to dismantle. So there is a tenuousness of this time. It's also very numinous in nature. It's feeling a sense of creation before creation. So it requires, seers and knowers and capacity to hold what's not yet visible in its totality of being. This happens to be one of my favorite seasons. There's a tending of the unseen. And so there's quiet work, there's quiet maintenance involved, maintenance of consciousness and awareness and not getting swayed by what we see externally or what's we don't see. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. It's not there yet. And so it's allowing what's on its way to have an open pathway to arrive from consciousness into expression of form. So, several ways to honor this time. One is to prepare. There's a level of preparation around cleansing. It's an opportunity to clear out, to make space for, to physically and energetically. So, clearing out what's no longer needed, decluttering, cleaning, decluttering your altar, your personal space, your bathroom drawers, anything like that. Cleaning out what's no longer needed to make space for what is on its way. And also working with candles is really beautiful, powerful magic at this time. Another ritual is to light a candle at dawn or just before dawn. So pre-dawn hours, light a candle, commune with the flickering flame, and to really listen for what seeds are stirring, what intentions want to be cultivated, what is coming up to be planted, and resting in a depth of listening. The flame also connects us to Saint Bridget of Kildare, who happens to be my matron goddess of my priestess path. And so deep connection with her, who is very aligned and the affinity goddess of Imbolc this time of year. And this time of year, Imbolc means in the belly. And so this time of year returns us to the ancestral memory of agrarian, earth-based living, where this is when the milk of the lambs would come in preparation for the birthing of the ewes. This is when we begin to start activating very quietly the beginning of the new creation cycle, the growth cycle, the growing time. And there's an opportunity to bless the seeds. Another powerful ritual is to bless the seeds. So I invite you to actually get physical seeds, let them represent your dream seeds, the seeds of the intention for this coming year, and to bless them in a way that feels supportive and uplifting and nourishing, and to plant them when the time is right, around the time of equinox. And there is an important process of letting the seeds get cold, like get this cold snap, stratification. If we aren't letting our seeds sit in the soil from the previous growing year and getting that cold, it's important to expose them to the elements. So there's something very medicinal about the cold of this time of year as well that creates activation for a more potent growing, a more potent rooting, and a more potent cracking open of the seeds within. And then lastly, my favorite ritual is, well, I don't know about my favorite, but one of my most consistent Imbolc rituals is laying a shawl, a wrap out for Bridget to bless as she passes by the home and the hearth on Imbolc Eve, which is this year and is Saturday, January 31st. And so laying a wrap outside that then for the whole year you use to hold yourself when you need extra healing and support. Bridget is the patron, is the matron goddess of healers, midwives, artists, poets. And so if that is part of your creative expression in this life, it feels particularly aligned to honor and connect at this holiday. And so inviting this blessing to surround you and the seed that you are through blessing of the healing garment. So I invite you to be in stillness and listening around this time of year to witness what is occurring around February 1st, 2nd. Um, Astrological or true Imbolc is February 3rd when the sun is at 15 degrees Aquarius, and lunar Imbolc is aligned with, of course, the beginning of the new Chinese New Year. So that is the new moon of the month. And there's a spaciousness, there's a breadth of time to engage with this gateway into the fullness of the season in quietude and in observation and in listening. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I really enjoyed sharing with you about this sacred season. And for more, you can check out Gestair, the Imbolc Mysterium that I'm offering this weekend, as well as Wheel Walkers, which is a deep dive into the medicine of the seasons around the wheel of the year at bluestarmedicine.com. Peace and blessings.